Hey guys, welcome to another Lords of War Games and Hobbies video. I'm Chris, and Jay is away this week, enjoying his little bit of summer vacation, just like I was 2 weeks ago. And today, I actually want to chat a little bit about that, where I was, and I thought that would be like a fun little topic. I actually, for the first time, got to visit Warhammer World 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And it's kind of funny because I have my background is English, and I have a ton of family over there, and I've been to England probably like 10 or 12 times in my life, and always meant to go. And because of where my family lives, it's a couple hours away, train ride or car ride. It just always kind of was like maybe we'll go, and then it was just an inconvenience, or like the people I was with didn't want to go. But it's kind of funny now that I have the two kids, 7 and 5. I thought it'd be more like a family thing, and they'd enjoy and just seeing all the dioramas and displays and everything like that. I thought so. I finally got to go after all this time, which is kind of funny. So yeah, we took the train into Nottingham, which is where Warhammer World is. So it's technically in London, which is just walk outside of Nottingham. But and it's kind of interesting. It's like this complex all to itself. It's like it's almost like a little world to itself, like a big industrial complex, and you kind of enter into. It's like this. Yeah, it's like gated off, and it's not like a regular part of town with like buildings and stuff like that. It's very much like sectioned off all to itself outside of town. But we were still able to, like, if you ever go, we were still able to like basically get a little holiday inn just outside of Nottingham, and we literally just walked. Like, you could walk everywhere, which is cool. So and there's like this nice little river that goes along just like splits the town in half, and you could walk along this like little canal, which I thought was like pretty cool. So it's very walkable still, despite being kind of like outside to itself. So we got into town. We pretty much went there right away. And you get into this like little industrial complex, and then you walk into the main thing, and right in front of the building, it's one of the cooler things is they have obviously the big statue of the Space Marine, and maybe I'll use that as my thumbnail for this video. And you've got this big, I guess I don't know if it's even true scale to like what it probably should be, but they have this giant rhino, which was really awesome. And of course, my kids start climbing it, and my wife's like just taking pictures, and I'm like looking down. I'm like, I think the sign says "Do not climb." Oh well, oh well. We got some good pictures out of it. Very cool, life-size rhino. So then we go inside, and immediately it's this big foyer space with sort of like a welcome counter, and a staff member working the counter, and that's pretty much the only staff in that little area there. And then there's like stairs leading up into the actual facility, and there's a little bit of like stuff you can buy, like just like a couple of like pieces of art. There's a couple dice bags. Nothing really that maybe not to me, but like that interesting. I was like kind of underwhelmed by the stuff that you could buy there. We'll talk about that actually later. Maybe I'll do a part 2 and just specifically focus on those things. But it's basically, it's free to go inside. The way it works is it's free to go inside, but if you want to go to like what they call the Warhammer Museum or exhibits, you have to pay. And I think it was £8, which would be about 14 Canadian dollars, or like 11 bucks American, something like that. So we paid. The kids were free, I believe, so that was nice. And we went up, and that's the first thing we did. So you go up the stairs, and the first thing you notice is you basically can go one way into the exhibits, or you can go basically to the whole other area, which is the pretty massive store, which I'll talk about after the exhibits, and the gaming hall. And then through the gaming hall, there's Bugman's Bar, restaurant, or whatever you want to call it. So I'll talk about the exhibits first. The exhibits are pretty much the reason to go to Warhammer World. It's the kind of like main unique experience of Warhammer World. So they, putting it lightly, they basically have every single miniature they produce is on display. And when I say every miniature, I mean every miniature they currently make. And it's painted by the studio, right? So it's the studio's miniature, and so that's kind of mind blowing. You can just see everything that they've painted for all the books and everything like that, and yeah, that's kind of, it's just rooms and rooms full of, like, literally full of miniatures. I thought, as impressed as I was by that, I think that might be more interesting for some other people, but like, I was definitely more captivated by all of the dioramas that they had. So they basically have, I think there's 4 rooms full of miniatures. I think 3 of the rooms are full of miniatures, and one of the rooms is just one giant diorama. And in every room, there's probably like 4 to 6 massive displays of like battles basically happening, and just a couple of, like, the first one you walk into, they had like the old world stuff, which was really cool. So there's some definitely some new ones there. You had there's like a Bretonnians fighting Tomb Kings one. The Bretonnians were basically like defending like classic defending a castle, and the neat thing about the displays is, number one is like the quality's, I would say, really good. Not amazing, like obviously they're painting a ton of models, but like the scale of it makes it feel a lot more awesome. So like there's hundreds of knights doing a charge, and then like you're like, that's pretty sweet, and they're all painted well. And then you have like some crazy, like they do some crazy conversions where like maybe a dragon's fighting another dragon up on the top of a keep. And so what was cool about them is a lot of them told a story, and on a glance you're like, wow, this is a really cool battle, and you can kind of see what's happening in the battle and where the troops are lining up and who's flanking and what's kind of starting to take shape. You got some marching troops like in column, like this is 100 casual like tomb guard in line marching up, like in blocks of them basically. Like we're talking thousands of miniatures, maybe in one display. But the really cool thing was like they really rewarded you if you like took a closer look, because there'd be like little smaller battles happening somewhere. Like one that I can think of was in the Horus Heresy section. The Sons of Horus were sieging an Imperial Fist's fortress or whatever, and there was like, if you went around one side, you could actually like see there was a whole bunch of like tunneling that was happening, where the Sons of Horus were tunneling underneath to and moving their troops in underneath in secret. But the Imperial Fists were like knew about it already and were plotting and planning to counterattack it with their troops on the other side. So there was some neat stuff like that happening. Like you had your typical like Titans firing weapons, and like maybe they like did some extra special effects to show. There were some ships that had like torpedo rocket kind of effects coming off them. Really, really neat stuff like that. And there's just this one display that's in a room to itself, and they have like a fun little game called like Find the Assassin, which is impossible. That's, like I say in the comments below if you found the assassin, but I didn't have the time or patience to do that. And my oldest was getting frustrated because he really wanted to find it. It's literally an entire room. It takes up an entire room, and what I mean by that is like there's a stairwell at the top, and you can basically look at the top of this massive fortress. It's Ultramarines fighting Chaos, and it's this massive fortress that's like probably like 2 stories tall. So you can look at the top of the display on the upstairs, and then there's a stairwell that goes down and around it. So you can basically like look at all the details as you go down and around it. And the room itself has like mood lighting and sound effects and stuff like that, which I thought was kind of neat. Except when it gets really, some of the lighting was a bit too gloomy, and you couldn't like see the display well enough, especially if you're trying to find a damn assassin. But that was pretty amazing. A lot of the, like, you could spend probably comfortably a couple hours if you really wanted to take your time in the exhibition part. So really good value for money there, I think, in terms of what you're getting. Really good showcase of what Games Workshop is today. And then so there was a tiny section at the front of the exhibition, which was basically like their history, and that was really small and disappointing. And I'm gonna actually talk about that in a separate video, I think. I just kind of wanted to keep this video positive and just to basically tell you how I had a good time. So moving into the outside the exhibition, into the gaming hall. The gaming hall was, I would describe it as a pretty big gaming hall. I'm trying to think. You probably could have like a 60-person tournament there. I guess the reason it didn't feel massive was because after going to Adepticon so many years in a row and seeing 1,000 people in a room, it's hard to feel like, oh, this is a really big, impressive space. But it is a big, impressive space. It looks really cool. The theme is there. I can't even imagine being a local and having that as my place I play. It must be just amazing. Because they had some pretty awesome tables. I'd say about 15% of their tables were really fit for purpose. So they had really thematic Necromunda or a really thematic Imperialis table. They had a really thematic couple 40K tables. So, and then I think the other ones are all kind of set up as general purpose, so they can run events and do whatever they need to do for that. Yeah, so it made pretty cool stuff. Nothing that's gonna blow your socks off there. But pretty cool. Probably a lot of fun to play with the lads there for a day. And right past there, through there, you can go into Bugman's, the bar. Really cool thematic bar. Surprisingly good food. Didn't really I was kind of expecting sort of your standard pub fare. And they had a pretty good menu, actually. Lots of options and choices, and had thematic craft beers, which is really cool too if you partake in such things. And really accommodated allergies, which, as a side note, my son has allergies, so that's always a good thing. So really, really good. Was really impressed with the restaurant. The only downside, which I might touch on in the next video, we talk about things that I would improve about Warhammer World, is they stopped taking orders for food at 4. So this whole complex basically starts to shut down at 4 o'clock. And they get everybody out at 6, so they're on this tight timelines a little bit. So it kind of rushes you along a little bit through the day if you're visiting for the day. You feel like you're kind of cut to certain times, but and seating was a little bit of an issue. For the amount of people at Warhammer World, they didn't have a ton of seating in the restaurant. We kind of had to struggle a little bit to get a seat. But one of the staff did tell me that particular day was a funny day because I think we were there on a Monday or something like that, which you'd think it'd be dead. But apparently they were re-releasing one of the End in the Death books in hardback, and they had this raffle going. So apparently a ton of people showed up to try and get this book, which is kind of funny. But I think I actually liked it being busy there. It's kind of cool to see a place busy, so I guess the typical Monday would have been a lot more quiet, I imagine, during the day. Just the out-of-town tourists, I suppose. So we got the full busy experience. I guess it was more like a weekend there. And the store, last but not least, is massive. It's massive. Basically the side, it has a side to it, which basically, because you could tell it usually used to be more separated by and still kind of is separated by Forge World and Games Workshop, but now that it's just all Games Workshop, it's still separated like that, but it's less kind of divided. You have one side which is all their core games, obviously the big two, Warhammer 40,000 and Age of Sigmar, and then the other side, which is big, long, and narrow, has all of their boxed games and all their side games like the Horus Heresy, Lord of the Rings, the Old World, and Necromunda, Warcry, basically all of those games, Imperialis, those things. And what was really cool is they had, even for like all the small games, they had little small demo tables set up, and they were really nice, really well done. So you could get a Necromunda demo at Warhammer World, which I thought was neat. And they were the little demos were well made and looked interesting and really inspired you to want to try those things. I thought that was really cool. They had a lot of staff, not a crazy amount of staff, maybe like 5 or 6 staff working. And so the one thing that was interesting is basically you could buy anything there. So every like pretty much every Forge World kit they make, unfortunately I gotta stop saying that, advanced kit 15 plus, you could buy in a white box or in a blister pack. They had it there, so that's pretty cool if you just like want that impulse. Obviously less exciting for me because with shipping the way it is so fast, like it's to me, I'm like, unless you're like a really buy in person kind of person, I can get any of that stuff here, just ordering off the website. So it didn't do anything for me specifically, but it was cool to see. And I imagine for a lot of people that, they just want to like impulse buy things in person, that's definitely something I can see happening for sure. They had a really big like 10-person demo table thing, and there's just like one staff member like literally glued in the middle, which I thought was hilarious. And they're really good. They're really good there. I have to give them a lot of credit. And my 2 boys will always get to say they painted their first Warhammer model at Warhammer World, which is really cool. And they did a full demo with them, not just like a dry brush of Space Marine, you're done. They took the Stormcast Eternal, they painted the gold, they painted the blue, they painted the shaft of the spear, they painted the metal, they painted details, they put a wash on it, they did the base, they got to put a tuft on, so they got a really good full painting lesson, which I thought was amazing. So thank you to the Warhammer staff. You guys were awesome. And we had a really great day there. And I actually didn't end up buying anything other than paying to see the exhibit. And I'm actually going to save that for another video, which will follow this one up, as to the things that I would improve about Warhammer World. I had a really good time. I don't want to take anything away from that. I think it's a really cool place to visit. I would strongly recommend going. And I don't think anyone who visits there as a fan will be disappointed at all. I hope you like this video. Stay tuned for the part 2, where I talk about things that I would improve about Warhammer World. If you like these kind of videos, give us a like and a subscribe. We really appreciate it. We also have a Patreon where we're close to our first membership goal. We're going to start creating some Patreon-only content. Until next time, guys, take care. Cheers.